Hey everyone, welcome back to Iron Bay Research. This is Bryce Wade and my wife Kara Wade, and we are continuing to talk about flipping.
Mm-hmm. Last time, we got into the chaos of our first two flips and told you guys how we could not sell our second flip. So now we're going to talk about what we did instead and that we bought another one in the meantime.
I had to do a little bit of digging through my old notes. So
For the timeline,
yeah. So it was around 2019 that we had been trying to sell Strauss, the Maryland property. We had already sold Culpeper, thankfully. So right now we only had one project in our hand. But I was like, hey, let's kind of flip our way out of this. We weren't really in a hole yet, but it was just like this funk. We got, third time's a charm. And so we actually won this
even
time.
harder.
Yeah, south again. So north, south. Into a flip that was definitely something that we should have not gone into. This one, it was a complete teardown. It was a house that had been there for a while.
Wasn't it previously burnt down or something?
Yeah, like a portion of it, like a big portion of it was burnt down. It was just like a shell of a house.
I think we got excited because it was like a gorgeous lake community. An HOA restricted, gorgeous lake community. And we were like, oh my gosh, if we could just put like a beautiful house here right by the lake.
Yeah.
But then what happened?
Just everything.
First, I do remember there was just a lot of stupidity with the HOA. They wanted to charge us $8,000, just a random fee for having the big trucks drive on their pavement. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was very weird. So that was stuff that we couldn't take into account before we bought it because we didn't know.
You had to own it to do the
HOA
submission.
Was stupid. Yeah,
it was. It was a nightmare compounding, to be honest. We bought the house for $65,000 in March 2019, and
there were houses that were like smaller that we thought we could replicate that were going for like $400 to $500.
Oh yeah,
so that's why we were like, whoa.
Yeah, no, the comps, and this is where again, like, the rehab actually made sense, but what kept getting me was other little nuances that I just didn't know how to account for. Because I was just looking through our budget, and the rehab, it was pretty much a teardown. Like the only thing they kept was like a little bit of foundation. It was like $140,000 to build the house, and this was a pretty big home. I can't remember square footage, but it was like a 4-3. It was 2-story with like the main floor and the basement. It was gorgeous. A really nice layout, big open floor plan. But we were pretty much rebuilding a house from square one, and it's a massive undertaking. I don't know if you ever built a house, but it's a nightmare.
Yeah,
you need a lot of cash and a lot of patience. But funny enough, the rehab wasn't what killed us. It was the HOA was just putting their nose in everything. They wanted all these upfront fees, like mileage usage fees, new build application fees, on top of the county. Like I was able to deal with the county because I had hired a professional GC this time to kind of help me in there, and they did a good job. But it was just the HOA that was just really making it a nightmare.
I remember we were frustrated because it was the principle of, we're taking this house that's been burnt down in an eyesore in your community, and you don't want, they wanted to stop us from doing that. And it didn't make any sense. I was like, why won't you help us do something good for your community? It was very strange.
And it wasn't even like, if it was just paid a fee, whatever, but they were being very combative. Like, if you had a question, they would give you the very minimal answer, not like kind of walk you through the process. And like, we're trying to take an eyesore off your back. And then on top of that, there was also, we had some septic field. So for a septic, we have a septic tank and then the drain field. We did have some drain field issues that had to cost that. But like, all in all, to be honest, if we had gone through this project, if we had had the money, we would have actually made a killing.
Is that why we had? What was the issue?
The issue was we ran out of money.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't realize that.
I was looking through my notes. Yeah, we had just ran out of money. Cash flow was an issue, and cash flow was probably an issue because before we sold that one,
we thought we were gonna sell Maryland and we couldn't.
Yeah. So what happened is, we bought this house. It was a complete flunk. We bought it in March 2019. We ended up selling it in October 2019. But actually,
selling just the shell, which was nice.
It was a shell of the home. It was framed, siding, windows. Yeah, and then someone could take it over. And I think we actually didn't lose that much cash. I think we got like all of it but $30,000 back.
Yeah.
But it was around it was like late summer, early fall, where I know we were talking, and it was just like, this isn't working. Like, whatever this is, I can't figure this shit out to save my life. And so we just kind of like went back to square one and like, what are we doing here? It's like, we want to invest in real estate. Why do we think we have to keep doing flips? Builds, yeah. Like there's a billion things you could do, and we're just so zeroed in on this thing, because I think I saw, you have like a identity crisis. You identify like, I flip houses, and it's kind of hard to break that.
Yeah.
And so we actually just kind of like went back to the drawing board, like, we need to pivot. And we actually ended up really zeroing in on just long-term rentals, just straight up buying a house, and putting a tenant in there, and letting it ride.
In hindsight, Maryland not selling kind of gave us the idea of what if we just buy another home to put a tenant in it.
Yeah, because that was I think emotionally, maybe putting a tenant in there as the lifeline to escape that issue kind of showed us like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
There's a thing here. So this is before we moved to Tampa. We did a national like grid, narrowed it down to Tampa, Florida. The way we were looking at it is, a state with a lot of growth, a state with great demographics, good income. You can list on a million things. Obviously, we've moved here, so it's a great place to be. But we did a lot of deep macro geographical research and landed on Tampa. Sorry, who you saying something?
I was just gonna say, I just got slapped in the face with a memory.
Oh, do tell.
Because we bought these duplexes 3 months before we even sold King George.
1 month.
1 month before we sold King
George. I thought there was more time in between.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I swear
we bought them in August.
Yeah, I swore we bought these 2018.
No, we bought them in August. Excuse me. We bought them in August.
Yeah, I might have misread something.
Yeah, I think we bought them in the summer, and then we sold King George right when we moved down here.
Yeah.
But anyways, I remember when we talked about this in a previous episode, how I felt emotionally about the flopping the flips. And I remember you were at my parents' dining room table at the Laura Roach house, at my parents' house. Because we were living there for a second. We had sold our house in the midst of all this because we decided we were going to move to Tampa.
Oh, geez, yeah.
That's why
I forgot about that, too.
Because why would you have been signing at my parents' dining room table?
Yeah.
If we didn't have a house.
You're right.
Yeah, so we had made the decision to move to Tampa, and we had sold our... So it was September, you're right, because we sold Lindenberry in September. So you're right, we did.
Geez, I didn't even think about throwing that in this
so in the midst of all that, timeline-wise, we decided we did want to move to Tampa. And we sold our house in preparation for that move. Yeah. And we were going to live with my parents until I found a job, because Bryce was really flexible with school and real estate and stuff. Yeah. So it was really just, we were going to move as soon as I got a job in Tampa. So anyways, I remember we had sold our house, which we actually made a pretty penny on our house. Remember, it was just announced that Amazon was going to build their new headquarters in DC, and I remember the prices like skyrocketed. Yeah,
I remember we only lived there for a little bit.
We lived there for 2 years.
And after all the fees and everything, we got all of our money back, including like the payments and everything. Yeah. So we pretty much lived there for free.
Yeah, because we bought it for $315. I think we sold for $360.
Yeah, and then when you buy and sell, there's a lot of selling costs, so like that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
To be able to, we didn't intend to do this. It wasn't like a move. It was just buying it right
that for moving so quickly, it was nice that we were able to.
Yeah, very surprising.
Not be we made it come up, I guess. Anyways, you were signing at my parents' dining room table, and I did have a pit in my stomach then when you were signing for those homes. All of a sudden, it just hit me, and I was like, this is a lot. I was like, is this the right thing?
Yeah.
I remember feeling really yucky.
Yeah.
Because nothing was really going well.
Yeah.
And I just remember that.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I forgot that we signed at your house.
Them at the dining table, and it almost felt like desperation. Like we were like, we have to get a win.
Yeah, and it's.
Was my name on those duplexes?
No,
those were just.
No, I think they were.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
it's hard to remember because some homes Bryce was able to buy and just
like
his
LLC,
name.
Yeah.
We didn't really care. We just were like, use me whenever you need to, but if you don't have to.
Yeah, I think it's whatever. If the loans let us to just do me, we would.
We would, but if we needed my income, we would do it. So, anyways, but yeah, you want to talk about the duplexes?
No, I mean, I forgot that we were selling the house too. So Jesus. Yeah. So at one point we were moving, selling our house. I guess there's two things: buying 2 houses, refinancing, or stuck not selling a Maryland house. And then selling a failed flip. That's a lot.
That was a lot.
But
it was a lot.
Made it out alive through hard work. But
we did. It just reminds me of we saw Shane Gillis over the weekend, and
what did he say?
He did a bit. Talent beat hard work that day.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Hard work broke even.
Yeah.
Talent, we would have made money.
Yeah, I wish I had some talent, but it was a lot of hard work. So, but yeah, so we were in the whole midst of Culpeper, like not able to figure it out. We went back to the drawing board, and I found we liked Tampa. Like this is a really great city.
Yeah.
We were like going over everything, and just I found a pair of duplexes that were selling, and a duplex is like 2 houses together. And they were selling for like 153. They were selling for like 155,000
total
for each a pair of them, and the rents on them was like 900 to 1,000, something like that. So for those you
per door
per unit. So it was 4 units total. I found an agent down there. I flew down there. I flew there in the morning and saw the property and flew back 5 days later. 5 hours later afterwards. And these houses, it was really cool. It was like, I don't get construction. Like, I get it, but I don't get it, right? Mm-hmm. But I feel pretty confident in my way to understand like a city dynamic. And I felt this here. Like the immediate street was bad. Like it was in the ghetto.
Rough,
there were like crackheads walking around. It was a bad neighborhood, but literally I could see it like 500 meters away is when like the neighborhood changed, and you could see the Tampa skyline from the house. Like if you look at a map, it was very close to everything. It was just in the outskirts. I was like, I think this is going to change. This is this is going to appreciate in value, and I felt really good about it. And they were good buildings. They were block buildings, 2007 build. So that,
new-ish.
Like new, the frame and everything was good. But just like the roof and the ACs were getting old, which you ended up replacing all these big ticket items. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was able to see 3. I was able to get in all the units. One of the units was like inside was nasty. It was like a crack den. It was just smoking inside. But I was like, you know what? I think this is something here.
Yeah.
We ended up negotiating. They actually went under contract with someone else.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And we ended up putting a bid on a different set of duplexes that were very similar, but then the agent called and said, hey, the original offer fell through. Do you want these? I said, hell yeah. We go back under contract for those.
And we forgot about the other ones. We pulled our offer from that.
Thankfully, we bought these instead. And we ended up closing. And so we bought 4 rentals for like just over $300,000, which ended up being a really good deal. Fast forward, ended up refinancing and selling them on total of like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good buy, and that was
5 years later, right?
Yeah. So and the down payment was 25%. I don't know, 7.5. The down payment was like $40,000.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we had to replace both roofs. We rehabbed one unit, and then we replaced like 4 AC units. So probably put another, call it 50. So I think all in all, we were in about 100.
I don't know in the timeline when we're ever going to be able to come back to the duplexes. So you want to go ahead and talk about the deal you did and everything?
No, I think that's a kind of deep. I kind of want to get away from the flips first and then kind of get into that. So, but the long story short, all in all, we were in for about $100K, and we ended up selling them for about a $500K profit. So we made about 5x. And this was like, what were we talking about? How it's just like we hit wall, and I felt really down.
Yeah.
And it was just like this pit in our stomach. We was like, and this was the one that kind of recovered everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit.
The one good decision. And that's why it's like, you can have, 5 bad decisions like we did, but if you have one good one, it can make up for all those crappy decisions.
God, that sounds like it's a gambling issue.
Keep trying. Yeah.
Just one more bet.
Just one more.
But the thing is, I think it was also too just like recognizing and admitting, really to myself, that like I'm not good at this thing.
Sure.
And then pivoting.
Yeah.
And then once we pivoted away from that, like I am a flipper. No, I'm not.
Right.
And then it's like now I'm a real estate agent. Like, and I like that. I'm really good at the job. So it's like, again, pivoting and saying, hey, I'm actually better at this thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it was nice. I remember in the beginning, you got to use a lot of that experience doing the flips with other people down here in Tampa who wanted to get into flipping. You were able to help them as an agent because you had experience in that, and you were like, this is what not to do.
Yeah, I pretty much turned it into like a lesson of what not to do.
Yeah.
And I just kind of built a really nice business around it, and just kind of took all those losses like, hey, I already paid for these mistakes. I might as well like find a way to utilize it. And it was like, so I really figured out all the numbers. Because the rehab, it actually wasn't the hard part. It was all the other shit that everyone forgets.
Right.
And so, and so we ended up, so we sold King George property.
Mm-hmm.
We had refinanced Maryland. So at this point,
and put a tenant in it.
We put a tenant. So at this point, we had the rental in Maryland, 2 duplexes in Tampa, and then we were ready to move to Tampa.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. And it's funny. I remember because buying the rent investment to Tampa was an obvious choice, but moving to Tampa, we were pretty clear cut. Were we tossing like Orlando and Jacksonville too?
No, we had talked about it from the get-go, but I think it was, I had worked for the government and had my clearance, and there was a lot of clearance jobs in Tampa specifically because of MacDill Air Force Base. Yeah. So I think that kind of solidified, let's hone in on this area.
And we bought here too, so we're like, I think we were going through the motions of like testing other stuff out just to feel like we did, but like deep down it was Tampa.
Yeah. And at that time, it took me about 3 months to, I started applying in November, July to jobs in Tampa. Yeah. Or like June. Yeah. And then I finally got an offer in September that I accepted.
Do you want to talk about that? Sure. Let's talk about the move.
Yeah, let's talk about the move really quick, and then we can wrap it up because there's a lot involved there. So, when we sold our house in September, we only ended up living with my parents for 3 weeks because I got an offer within that time. Yeah. So that was, and
we were just going to get like an Airbnb to get that. Like we were going to live temporarily.
Yeah. So we got
a pack rat.
Yeah,
which is like a pod.
Yeah, it's like a pod, but the company's called Pack Rat, and that was nice because they have a facility in Tampa that's temperature controlled. Yeah. So you could just pay, what was it, like $200 a month? It was like the initial, like, it was pretty cheap.
The initial storage, I think all in all, it was very reasonable, but it was, you load it up and they get it delivered. You just call them and say, hey, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So that was nice. So we just paid the monthly fee to have all of our home furniture and stuff in storage down here in Tampa until we got down here. Yeah. But anyways, I was just applying for a bunch of jobs. It took me about 4 months to get the job that I ended up going with. But I remember my only other serious offer was I had gone through several iterations of interviews with USAA.
Yeah.
And that's who we bank with. So I like them as a company.
Yeah.
I'm pretty comfortable with them. I always have a good experience with their customer service.
Yeah.
And so that was the job, was the customer service.
Yeah.
Hold on, our dog's wigging out.
I think we're good.
Okay. So I was like, yeah, I could see myself doing that.
Yeah.
And it was, I forget, I think it was like their homeowners insurance department or something.
Yeah,
so it was
something like that.
It was relatable to real estate, which I was like, oh, I feel confident in this because of all of our experiences. So it would have been a massive change from my government job to that.
Yeah.
But we were like, I was so ready to move. And I was like, maybe I am
just
over
like
the government scene. Yeah. But then, once I got through all the iterations of interviews, even with all my experience, they were like, we usually start people at 45, but we can start you at 55. And at that time, if anyone remembers from our previous episode, I was making $95,000.
That's such a waste to tell you on this last round of interview.
Yeah, so to go from $95,000 that I was making in DC down to 55, I had talked to you about it, and I was just like, that seems silly. We shouldn't rush it for that, you know.
And at this point in time, there wasn't that big of a price difference between Tampa and North Virginia.
No, everyone
it was a little bit less, but not half.
No. Yeah, that's crazy. So anyways, I continued going on the clearance space, and I remember very vividly, it was a Thursday night. I just couldn't sleep. It was like midnight or 1 a.m. or something. And I was like, let me just apply for some jobs while I'm laying in bed. And I went on, it's called clearancejobs.com. It's for people with clearances. And they're just jobs specifically where they require a government clearance for their qualifications. And a new posting had just been posted that day, or like that evening. It had been posted like 8 p.m. and I logged on like a couple hours later, and literally was my exact job that I was doing in DC. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit. And so I applied, and I was just like, please. And they called me Friday morning. Like, I applied in the middle of the night, and they called me the next morning as soon as they saw my resume. And they interviewed me they interviewed me that afternoon at 2 p.m.
I didn't know it was that fast.
Yeah, it was that quick. So I applied Thursday night at like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
They called me at like 8 a.m., set up an interview for that afternoon at 2 p.m. Did the interview in my car because I was still at my current job.
Yeah.
And they offered me the job for $75K on Monday. Yeah. And we were like, yeah, we can work with that.
Yeah.
It was listed for 55 to 65, but with my experience, they were like, yeah, we want to put you at the top, and we want you to come down.
Which is super reasonable.
And they were like, we'll give you all the time you need. They gave me 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't saying we need you in 2 weeks. They were like, yeah, we'll give you 4 weeks. Yeah. And it was just amazing.
That way you could like leave on good terms.
Yeah. And I did kind of set it up already. I had a good relationship with my current boss in DC. And so I had told him 3 months prior when I made the decision, because I hate being sneaky. I'm not a sneaky person. So I was like, we're moving to Tampa. Yeah. So I'm going to be applying to jobs and doing interviews during the day, just FYI, you know, and he was very supportive. He was like, of course we'll miss you, but he's like, you can help me interview your replacement.
Didn't they try to throw stuff at you like you could work fully remote or some shit before you left? Wasn't that like a thing?
Oh, yeah. I thought...
I swear there was like options for you where they would like come back or something like that.
There was. I don't think it was set in stone. I think it was something where I'd be doing a different job that I hated, like the project. Microsoft project, application.
Yeah.
It's very Excel-y, and it's about like the timeline of a project.
Yeah.
I had a couple certs in that, and I was good at it at the time, but I was just like, I hated it. Yeah. I hated project management. I hated the life of a project, tracking it that way with a Microsoft project. I was like, that sounds like it would make me nauseous.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where I was like, if we're moving to Tampa, I want to be present, like in Tampa.
Yeah.
and thank God I did, because I ended up like working out amazingly. I had like the best boss in the world.
Yeah, and you were like really happy too.
The best coworkers. Yeah, I had like just the best possible work environment set up you can imagine in Tampa. It was just like such
a nice
blessing.
Commute, nice paycheck. Yeah.
It was great.
So I think it was a good time. Is that we got down there, you were working, and then I hit the fall semester at USF.
Yeah.
So and we just kind of rolled right into it.
Right. So really quickly, I got my offer. Then we were like, yes, we'll set a date. We got out of my parents in 3 weeks, so that when we moved down here, I had a week to kind of just chill before I actually started my job. Yeah. And we got a VRBO that was fully furnished, a little apartment in Brandon. Yeah. That was one bedroom, really tiny,
our puppies,
and our dog. Yeah. And after 2 months, then we were able to. Well, that's another story we can start with next time. Is we were gonna buy a house, and then it fell through because. And we can talk about that. I think that's a good lesson.
I think talking about. I'm trying to remember. Like, we hadn't refinanced Strauss yet when we moved down here, so I think we were still selling that. I got these dates, and I think we got the story wrong.
Yeah, I don't think
we moved down here, and we still hadn't sold.
We sold King George 2 weeks after I started my job.
Yeah.
There was a time where...
And we just couldn't sell Strauss.
We were really down.
Yeah.
In the VR.
Yeah. Maybe we'll pick up from there.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So
we're in Tampa now in the story.
Yeah, so we've cut out one of the bad flips. We're still holding one of the previous stuff.
Yeah.
We got some investments in Tampa, but we're in Tampa. We're
making moves.
We're in the Sunshine State.
So now this is 5 years later currently. So 5 years ago is when we moved to Tampa. So we're almost to present time where we'll start talking about stocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really pivotal too, just talking about like shifting, adjusting, recognizing.
Yeah.
Because we do this again too later on, shifting from real estate over to the stock market.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, kind of really recognizing that
it's scrappy.
It's okay to try something and fail. And it's okay to try something twice and fail. I really think.
Right.
But there's some point where you have to be like, okay, this is getting silly.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I like surety in weird things. And that's one of those. Like, I need to fail several times to know, like,
I see what you mean.
I suck at this. Like,
that's a good point.
Because it's gonna shoot me the back of my mind, like, I didn't try hard enough, or I didn't try the right property. Yeah. And it's just gonna, like, you have to know. Mm-hmm. And so I think this time we really realize that flipping stuff. I like real estate, I like investing, but flipping not so much.
Yeah.
And then we kind of kick it off from there.
So now our life there's a hair floating right in front of
me. That's all I say,
our life gets much happier.
Once
we get to Tampa, we just love it. And things start to go our way.
After
3 years shitstorm. And then COVID hit. Which was good for you. We'll talk about that.
It was a payday. So
that's true.
Yeah. Well, other than that, thanks for watching that. And sorry that we bumbled. I took these damn notes and I still bumbled these dates up. I should have organized.
Well, it is quite confusing because even if it was clear and concise what the dates were, it was still so much going on.
I forgot about the house that we sold.
We sold our Lindenberry house.
One over my A lot of people only sell or buy like a couple properties in their lifetime. And I think
we sold like 6 that year. Bought and sold like 6 that year.
In just personal transactions. Like it was hectic.
That was crazy.
God, imagine if we'd made money on like one flip.
I'm glad we're done talking about that.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Tampa is an exciting time.
Yeah, moving past that. Well, so I think we'll start at the apartment and talk about the refi and kind of So
sounds good.
Well, other than that, thanks for joining us, guys. We will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this and want more, subscribe or comment below. We'll see you here next time on Iron Bay Research. Bryce and Kara signing out.